It's quickly approaching that time of day that we all love, lunchtime. I was heading down to the supermarket to purchase a sub sandwich filled with all my favorite ingredients when I decided it would be wrong not to stop by Greenville Station just to see what was going on. And you know it's a good thing I did? Norfolk Southern train number 238 was making its final approach into the yard. This Atlanta to Charleston shuttle helps move intermodal and manifest cuts of goods between two cities which are unfortunately not connected directly by a singular rail line. Instead, 238 has to make a detour through Greenville, which is all the better for me. That's one more train I get to watch and enjoy. So I guess my sandwich dreams will have to wait for now as 238 pulls into the yard. Led by the intimidating SD-70 ACE, 238 will stop and work Greenville Yard, dropping off and picking up more cuts of cars before making its way north towards Greer Intermodal Terminal to drop off this large cut of Evergreen 1 and miscellaneous intermodal containers. Constructed to help better integrate the Port of Charleston with the rest of South Carolina, the Greer Intermodal Terminal, or the Inland Port as it's officially known, ships and receives all sorts of containers, shuffling them between larger destinations like Atlanta, Chattanooga, and of course, Charleston. Furthermore, the port is also used as a launching point for local intermodal goods. Despite its reputation as a glorified local, shuttle train number 238 is positively massive today, clocking in over 2.25 miles long. Supply shortages are the main culprit behind such lengthy trains. Case in point, this empty cut of well cars. They are to be filled with container empties bound for Charleston, in a desperate attempt by the NS and South Carolina Port Authority to ease mounting congestion at the inland port. Also on today's 238 was this tank car curiosity. I wonder what that white piping could be for. I'd have plenty of time to ponder that question, cause 238 was now stopped. It had a long day ahead of it, and so did I. So I decided to pack up and go retrieve my sandwich. There isn't anything quite like an Ingles sub sandwich. Add a smoothie and your meal might just be perfect. Arcadia Crossing was just a few minutes from the grocery store, so that's where I decided to consume my food. Unfortunately for my stomach, a train was approaching. Oh well, I guess the sandwich will have to wait. Now that was unexpected. To my utter bewilderment, the Norfolk Southern geometry train decided to pay Greenville a visit. I had no idea this train was in town. Last I heard, it was tied up in Atlanta. The geometry train only comes but once or twice a year, and I wasn't just gonna let this rare train viewing opportunity slip me by. So I decided to give chase, figuring the best place to intercept the geometry train was over at Signal Point, Worley. Sure enough, there it was, waiting patiently for a switch to be thrown so it could roll back into Greenville Yard. This gave me precious little time to formulate a game plan. Ultimately, I decided the best move was to race the train back to Arcadia Street Crossing and try to get a better shot of it returning southbound. This proved to be a good decision, as when I pulled up to the crossing, I was greeted by the loudest P5 horn I've ever heard. Fortunately for me, it seemed the geometry train was operating at limited speeds. From Arcadia, I reckoned I could leapfrog between video locations, optimizing my time spent with this iconic piece of railway equipment.
Now, what exactly is the geometry train? Well, busy railroads like the Norfolk Southern own and operate thousands of miles of track. Inevitably, well-used track is worn down over time, which can sometimes create dangerous defects on the rails. Twice weekly visual inspections are required on all railroads, but sometimes even this is not enough to spot danger. That's where the geometry train comes in. Using advanced sensors and computer technology, the Norfolk Southern trains are able to detect even the faintest signs of trouble and alert maintenance crews to its location. The Norfolk Southern actually operates two geometry units. This unit, known as the Brick, are run up and down the Norfolk Southern's busiest lines on a yearly basis, inspecting tracks and searching for defects. The data dump now concluded, I raced off to my next destination, gaining a narrow lead at the Buncombe Road underpass. Nestled upon an embankment overlooking the north end of Greenville Yard, hidden corner court, it's the perfect spot to watch big trains arriving and departing Greenville Yard without having to go to the yard itself. Today, it will give us a front row seat to the geometry train's final maneuvers as it navigates into a layover siding. I came back to Greenville Yard to find it hopping with activity. Southbound Manifest 157 was getting ready to build its train for its run to Atlanta. Meanwhile, the geometry train was held up, patiently awaiting while a crew member aligned its switch into the layover siding, often used for storage of maintenance-away equipment. Simultaneously, at the southern entrance to the yard, a local sporting a small cut of tank cars was awaiting clearance to proceed into its track. Back at the now idling geometry train, a crew member is applying the Brick unit's handbrakes, indicating to me that its day was coming to a close. Sure enough, the engineer of these two -9 units was in the process of shutting them down, rendering these usually deafening locomotives silent. Today's unexpected geometry hunt, while thrilling, had thrown my schedule completely off. I had 15 minutes to make it home and eat my poor forgotten sandwich before my next class, so I packed up and headed home. A few hours later, I was crossing the tracks at Wooddell Road when I spotted the unmistakable gleam of train headlights.
Continuing today's theme of railway maintenance, this Herzog ballast train is a special work order for the Norfolk Southern. An immense tire replacement project just concluded in Easley, and a fresh layer of ballast was needed. Herzog is a railroad construction leasing company which rents out these specially made ballast dropping cars to major railroads all around America. This particular ballast train is empty, being sent back north to the nearest facility for a fresh load of ballast. The train will then be sent to whichever construction site requested fresh ballast first. While only operating on an as-needed basis, construction and maintenance isn't always on major railways. If you rail fan a certain spot or line long enough, you're practically guaranteed to eventually see one of these Herzog ballast trains rushing down the line. They are one of the many unsung heroes which keeps trains on tracks and cargo getting to and from where it needs to be safely and on time. Oh, that must be agonizing for motorists. This train stopped with just 2 cars hanging out over the crossing. Train-related traffic can be fierce here at Wooddell Road, something that local residents are all too familiar with. Now, I've seen a few end-of-train devices in my day, but I've never heard such a shrill scream emit from one of them before. What the high-pitched buzzing means or indicates, I'm afraid I don't know. But one thing I do know is that it's one thundering nuisance. Besides the world's most annoying sound, this is a common scene here at Wooddell Road. Trains are often stopped over many major crossings, as they have to wait for the Taylor's single-track line to clear up before proceeding northbound. While considered a necessary evil by the railroad, motorists would disagree. Few of these cars got tired of waiting. They turned themselves around and hightailed it back the way they came in hopes of finding an alternative route to their destinations. I wish them luck. The next 5 crossings down are also probably blocked by this lengthy ballast train. The struggle is real for Taylor's-bound commuters this evening. My God, it stopped. That horrible noise has finally stopped. Well, I guess it's no matter anyways. Soon after, that noise briefly stopped and then, unfortunately, continued. The Herzog ballast train slowly began to move its way down the line. Taylor's was clear, and this meant I would finally get a break from that. A quick glance at the ATCS track revealed that the reason this northbound was held up was for a southbound which was occupying the Taylor's single track. That meant it should be arriving here at Wooddell in about 10 minutes, and I would be in position to capture it. There is no better place in South Carolina to enjoy the distant sound of a bang train horn than here at Wooddell Road Crossing. Moments later, the distinctive sound of a crossing bell cacophony filled the night sky. It looks like our southbound was ready to make its move. But before I could enjoy this passing train, I first had to witness something far too common here at Wooddell Road Crossing. This guy's taking an enormous chance by trying to beat the train. He's putting both his life and others at risk. He was fortunate this time, but many aren't. Crossing in front of lowered gates is one of the most recklessly dangerous things you can do. Continuing our theme of unusual today, this cut of auto racks is being pulled by a long hood forward Gevo. In my entire career rail fanning here in the Greenville District, I've never once seen a long hood forward move on the Norfolk Southern, let alone with such a lengthy cut of auto racks. I suspect this was a local move, moving these empty auto racks from the BMW plant just up the line to Greenville Yard for sorting and eventual shipment upon other trains. I suspect the long hood forward aspect of this move is out of convenience. Greenville usually has a large locomotive or two, such as the Gevo, in case large or heavy cuts of cars need to be moved locally. Today's locomotive was probably sent up to the BMW plant to retrieve this enormous cut of auto racks before returning with its cargo long hood forward. Since the Greenville Yard BMW trip is only about 20 minutes in length, spec operating in long hood forward was simply a matter of convenient advantage, since the crew didn't have to spend extra time turning their train around. Whatever the case may be, I'm thankful I caught this train. It's always neat to see something you've never seen before on the railroad, particularly if what you've seen is a rare occurrence. It's always nice to get to enjoy some unexpected train time, particularly when you're headed home to work on homework. But alas, now that the crossing is clear, I must continue onwards to finish my assignments.
Many hours later, I was just beginning to settle down for the night when my telephone began to vibrate like there was no tomorrow. A notification from my Heritage Unit app was to blame, although I'm glad its buzzing was so relentless. Turns out it was trying to tell me that an Amtrak Heritage Unit had been spotted headed my way on tonight's northbound Crescent. So after a quick pep talk to convince myself to get out of bed, I hopped in the car and charged southward. Clemson Station was my chosen destination for a few reasons. Its bright LED station lighting would allow for excellent nighttime filming of trains. The Crescent was running on time tonight, an unfortunately rare occurrence for the train. Still, I wasn't gonna complain. I'd rather be out here at 1:30 a.m. than 4:30 a.m. A horn in the distance told me that the Crescent was here, and with it, Amtrak locomotive number 160, the Phase 3 Heritage Unit. Unfortunately for my photography ambitions, the lead engine pulled far ahead of the platform. That's okay, the roar of those P-42s more than made up for my lack of pictures. Passing near numerous major universities, the Crescent is a popular travel choice among college students, as demonstrated by this line of Clemson kids waiting to board. 2 blasts of the horn. And our train is off to New York City. You know, I would give anything to be sleeping in a Crescent roomette right about now, rather than my old college dorm room back at home. Oh boy, those P-42s sure do grumble. You know, wanting to hold on to my overnight train dreams just a wee bit longer, I decided to swing by K-Drive Crossing for one last goodbye to tonight's Heritage Unit-led Crescent. And once again, the distant wail of a train horn told me that I had arrived just in time. One problem is, I didn't look where I was standing. The boom of the crossing gate gave me a good thwack on the head. I'm glad no one was around to see that one. A good night to you all, and until our paths cross again.